This is a brief review and my thoughts on the very short debate between President Sunday and Destiny, a debate that only lasted 8 minutes, actually. Now, the debate was started because of this tweet from President Sunday. If we actually held political content creators to account for their little acts of treachery to their avowed causes, we wouldn't have Destiny more or less openly betraying everything he ever claimed to stand for out of greed and hatred for other people doing his same bit. After this tweet was sent out, Destiny contacted him and they ended up having a debate about it. And President Sunday's argument is essentially that, like, hey, when Destiny platforms people like Lauren Sutton and Nick Fuentes, he is giving them a platform, he is giving them viewership, he is essentially giving them just more resources, right? They're giving them content, whatever debates that they then profit from, and they get resources, and then they use these resources towards hurting minority groups. And because President Sunday believes that, like, Destiny's entire thing is built upon progressive values and not hurting minorities, President Sunday perceives this as like a betrayal of those values and therefore something worthy of critique. Destiny's argument in response to this was that that's possible, but this is just difference in degrees of separation. So for example, you, President Sunday, are guilty of the exact same thing. Because from you coming up here, you know, even if you're a smaller creator, you're giving me content. You're making my stream more engaging. You're giving me higher viewership numbers than if I just sit here doing nothing. In fact, this debate may even be turned to a YouTube video that might get upwards of, you know, more than 100,000 views. So if you're contributing resources to me, making me more popular, giving me more viewership, and I'm using that towards Lauren Sutton and Nick Fuentes, aren't you kind of also part of the exact same problem? When Destiny presented, you know, this to President Sunday basically said, is that a fact? And Destiny was like, yeah, I think so. And then President Sunday just said, enjoy your video games, and left.
The shift you've made is you're now comfortable materially helping, because that's what you're doing by regularly appearing to this person in a friendly. I mean, Rose Wrist made an excellent video on this. This is largely where I got.
I understand what you're saying. You have to have a few more steps of separation. Otherwise, you are materially helping these people as well.
Is that a fact?
Yes.
Oh, well then enjoy your video game, Steven. Have a good night.
Well, I was gonna say, because if I'm having a conversation with you, then I do better in viewership than when I'm not having these types of conversations. And if you're helping to elevate my platform, you're inadvertently also elevating the platform that's elevating other racist people. So, but I guess we didn't get to go to that part. Well, that was a that was a conversation, I guess.
I think Destiny's argument was good. It illustrated like a limitation perhaps to President Sunday's argument. I probably would have talked about the ideological benefits as well. So it's not just about this resource game, as President Sunday talks about. It's also about the benefits from the confrontation of the ideas and the spokespeople of those ideas. I think it's important that we as progressives confront our opposition and have discussions and debates in which, you know, hopefully we perform well and we competently represent our positions in a way that helps us do better, whether we're talking about culture war, marketplace of ideas, whatever, just popular opinion, giving people arguments, letting people look at things and understand it from a progressive perspective in a bit of a better way, essentially. That's one of the aspects that I felt was missing, because it's entirely possible for Destiny to just completely concede to Sunday's argument, just be like, yeah, sure, I'm doing this to some extent, but there's also the benefit that we're getting from combating these ideas. And therefore, I think that on the whole, my engagement is actually being good for my cause, and therefore it's not a betrayal of my values. It's just you haven't taken into consideration the ideological side of this that goes beyond just this resource game you talked about. But I'm sure Destiny would have made that argument had the debate gone for longer than 8 minutes. It didn't, so he opened with this argument about different degrees of separation, which I thought was pretty good, to be fair. Now, let's think about this for a little bit, because President Sunday left right after Destiny presented this argument. So I think there are two possibilities for why he left here. Possibility number one is he left because he was incapable or afraid to engage further in the conversation and essentially used that as an excuse to get out. Or number two, he agreed with Destiny, realized that his engagement was helping Destiny grow, and therefore went out for more of like a principled reason. And I'm saying principled for some of the things we're going to talk about later. And the funny thing is, honestly, I don't know which is worse. You know, reason one is, it's fairly obvious to understand why that's like negative, right? And why that one is pretty bad. So if the reason why he left is just because he wasn't able to engage anymore, that would just demonstrate that he hadn't thought through his arguments before expressing them publicly, and that he crumbled at the slightest bit of pushback to his beliefs, that he's a bit of a spineless coward who leaves the conversation when it gets off script, and that he's kind of reinforced the stereotype that people like him are incapable of engaging in critical engagement with people live, and hides behind one-sided reviews where you can carefully control what gets discussed. So it's fairly obvious why that's a bad reason. But let's take the more charitable interpretation, okay? He left because of, because he was principled, essentially. He realized that, oh, what I'm doing right now is actually doing the thing I'm accusing Destiny of doing, so I'm going to stop doing this. Because now I know that's bad, and I'm a principled person, so I'm not going to do it anymore. So once again, everything I'm about to say now is assuming that Sunday buys Destiny's argument, that Sunday's engagement with Destiny is helping Destiny grow, and that's why he left. This also demonstrates to some extent that he hadn't thought through his belief, and therefore acted in incongruence with this belief by coming on to Destiny's stream at all, essentially. Because this is like a fairly easy thing to think about. You don't need to be like a philosophy lord if Destiny can figure this out. And Destiny's a smart guy, but if Destiny can figure it out in like just a few minutes of listening to you present your argument, you probably should have thought about that enough to be able to reach that conclusion, if that's something you feel comfortable tweeting about and even going into a debate with. Once again, we still have that issue with not really thinking things through. More pertinently, probably, is the fact that this means that President Sunday is a massive hypocrite who is, in more ways than one, doing the exact same thing that he was accusing Destiny of doing. First of all, he has reviewed at least 6 pieces of Destiny content beforehand, platforming his, like him as a person, and his platform, Destiny's platform, then to all of his fans. And sure, he's a small creator, but every little bit counts, right? But he also actually uploaded the debate between him and Destiny before Destiny even uploaded it to his channel. It seems strange that if you leave this debate out of principle, because you believe that that engagement helped Destiny, that you would then upload and bring more attention to that engagement by uploading it on your own channel. It feels a bit strange. Since I recorded this video, President Sunday has also gone on a bit of a Twitter spree against Destiny, providing him with even further engagement and potentially setting up for yet another discussion. But it's also not just Destiny, actually, that this is applicable to. Hi, my name is Roserus, and I have a history of President Sunday too. What does President Sunday think of me? I think this is a good place to start, because essentially he thinks that Destiny is somebody who is contributing to, the hurting of minorities by platforming Lawrence Southern and Nick Fuentes. So what does he think about me? He thinks I also irresponsibly platforms fascist. There is a video on this on my channel, which is me responding to his review of my debate. God, online politics is disgusting. Against Mark Collett. In that debate, his review is essentially like, oh, Mouthy and Rose got absolutely washed in this debate. They lost really bad, and they're irresponsibly platforming fascist ideals in this video. Not good. He also called me a opportunistic and manipulative bad faith clout shark in a tweet of his, which you can see right here. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it's not relevant to this video particularly, but the bottom part is. So this opportunistic and manipulative shark is not a good faith actor by any metric. And then there's another time where he, characterizes me a bit more when I reach out to him for a discussion about the previous tweet that I just showed you, where I challenge him for a discussion. Then he says something along the lines of this in one of the messages that we have. You seem to be operating under the bizarre assumption that I have any interest in talking to you. I don't think you're an honest actor. I think you're a dumb kid with a head full of steam, and I have nothing to gain from entertaining you. So essentially, he thinks I'm a pretty bad person. He doesn't think I'm a valuable source here. He doesn't think I contribute to good in the world, which probably means that he should be doing his very best not to platform me in any way, shape, or form, and not give me more resources that I will then use to irresponsibly platform fascists then, in his view. Well, he has 4 videos of being published on his channel for a total of 6 hours of content and a few tweets as well, some of which I've actually turned into a well-performing video. So the video I mentioned previously is doing like at 9K views, which for my channel is pretty good. I think it's more than any one individual video of his has done in terms of viewership, one of the videos on me then, that is. So yeah, he's essentially just given me resources. He gave me a good content that I could use for a review, essentially. So he benefited me like in resources there. He probably also introduced me to some of his followers that didn't know who I am, because I am definitely significantly smaller than Destiny. But then he also gave me an explicit positive shout out on Destiny's stream, which is pretty interesting why he would do that to somebody who's all these negative things.
I mean, Rose Wrist made an excellent video on this. This is largely where I got
I understand what you're saying.
So here he positively shouts me out, right? He's like, hey, you had a great video on this. It feels strange that you would shout somebody out who's like this terrible person who irresponsibly platforms fascist. If you think it's bad to irresponsibly platform fascists, which President Sunday clearly does. Now, of course, I'm not silly. I understand that this might have been more of a tactical shout out, so to say, and that the purposes of this shout out may not be the same as the purposes of a normal or traditional shout out. But regardless, let's just keep moving on. But now you might just say, okay, well, sure, he's made a few videos, and yeah, those videos have contributed to content about you and stuff like that, has given you content for you to further grow your platform, but at least he didn't directly debate you, right? There's 2 points on this. Number one, it doesn't really matter because content is content. If you hadn't talked about me, I wouldn't have gotten that video. I wouldn't have been able to use that to grow my platform, and therefore, in his eyes, irresponsibly platform fascist. But also number two, there was actually a condition in which he would debate me. So here is the beginning of our message exchange. So I attach the tweet and I say, I would like to discuss this tweet on stream with you. He says, I imagine you would. There seems to be sufficient material there for you to make a devastating response already. Why don't you do so, and then we can have a chat about it. Full DMs can be found in the description of this video, but essentially what he's saying here is that, okay, you know, I will debate you if we can wring a little bit more content out of this. You know, you make a response video, you know, you put my name out there a little bit more, maybe I can make a response to your response before our debate, and then we can talk about this, which feels a bit unprincipled to me. Feels a bit like he's kind of betraying what he stands for greed, one might say. Crazy take. Another thing that's pretty interesting actually about this, and that further proves this point, is that mine and Destiny's situation are very similar. He made a tweet about both of us, and we both reached out to him for a conversation on that tweet. He didn't require Destiny to make a video response to that before he accepted the debate request from Destiny, but he wanted me to make one. Now I wonder, what's one difference between me and Destiny and our platforms that might make someone more inclined to be more rapidly accepting of a debate presented by one as opposed to the other? Destiny's a bigger creator. And that's why he was more willing to talk to Destiny. But he's not a clout shark. He's not greedy. He just likes Destiny more, I guess. Then there is the number one response that you're probably going to get from this, and I'm probably going to get, oh, but he's a smaller creator. Number one, it's irrelevant, because everything I've said now is assuming that President Sunday found Destiny's argument convincing in the capacity that it would make him, and he would be inclined towards leaving that conversation. So if he essentially thinks that that argument applies between him and Destiny, it should absolutely apply between me and him. And also, like I mentioned before, even if you're a smaller creator, you can still provide content that is really easy to be used by a larger content creator in order to further grow their audience and make them more popular as a whole. For example, like Destiny debated Eric Striker a while back, and Eric Striker is much smaller than what Destiny is. Yet that's one of the most viewed debates of all time on Destiny's channel. And, you know, he debates smaller people all the time, people with no name sometimes even, that have no platform, that are incredibly useful for his growth because they get a lot of attention because the debate goes in a particular way. You know, such as when Destiny eventually uploaded the debate of his conversation with President Sunday, the video of his debate with President Sunday, that got like over 100K views, right? So just because he's a smaller creator doesn't mean he doesn't contribute to this resource game that he's talking about. But you know what the best part about all of this is? The best part is that President Sunday cannot respond to this video. Because if he responds to this video in any capacity, it would further exemplify his hypocrisy because he's giving me more resources, more attention, more capacities for content. He's platforming me to his audience, and he will essentially allow me to further grow my platform. And for him to do that to somebody that he believes irresponsibly platforms fascist, who is an opportunistic and manipulative bad faith clout shark, who is a dishonest actor and a dumb kid with a head full of steam, that'd be pretty hypocritical. That'd be pretty unprincipled. But if he does respond, that would mean that he didn't actually buy Destiny's argument, which would essentially just be him admitting that he is a spineless coward who just left the debate with Destiny because he has not thought through his arguments before expressing them publicly, thus crumbling at the slightest pushback to his beliefs, reinforcing every stereotype that exists about pseudo-intellectuals like himself. The real principled thing to do here, I was initially going to say, would probably be to remove all the videos with anybody who he feels is, you know, negative or is a bad person or a bad influence. That would be me and Destiny. But if he wanted to be really principled, he should probably delete his channel, to be honest, because he's funding people into online politics as a genre of content. And if you start listening to online politics, you're probably going to stumble upon somebody like me and Destiny eventually. So that's the only way he can remain fully principled. Essentially, this is the main problem. Because of the conditions under which he left, that commits him to two positions: the spineless coward or the principled hypocrite. That's my main takeaway from this debate, even though, you know, I would say that Destiny's argument wouldn't be the one I made directly. It did give us the opportunity for this excellent analysis on how principled, you know, President Sunday is as a person and as a creator, and whether or not he may be guilty of a lot of the things he accuses other people of, you know, being guilty of. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.